I never believed small things could change my life. Big dreams? Yes. Huge opportunities? Absolutely. But small, quiet, almost invisible things? Those never seemed important. When I was younger, I thought success arrived like lightning, sudden, loud, impossible to miss. I didn't realize it often slips into your life like a whisper, like a habit repeated quietly in the background when nobody is watching. I was 19 when I first felt that uncomfortable tug in my chest, that feeling that I wasn't where I wanted to be. My friends seemed to be moving ahead, getting better grades, making plans, chasing goals. I felt stuck. My days looked the same. Wake up late, scroll on my phone for hours. Complain about being tired, and then tell myself tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow. 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 That word became my favorite excuse, but one night, everything shifted. I was sitting at my desk, staring at a blank notebook. I had promised myself I would start writing just a few lines a day, something to sharpen my mind. But my page was still empty. I felt frustrated, almost angry at myself. Then I remembered something a teacher once told me. She said, "Discipline is just the art of showing up, even when you don't feel like it." At that moment, I picked up my pen and wrote a single sentence. Just one. It was messy, awkward, and nothing worth saving. But for some reason, I felt a strange spark inside me. I had done something small, so small it almost didn't matter. And yet, it did. Because for the first time, I didn't break a promise to myself. The next day, I came back. Not because I felt inspired, but because I didn't want to lose that spark. I wrote another line, then another. Before long, I was filling entire pages. Some days the words flowed like water. Other days, every word felt like dragging a heavy stone uphill. But I kept showing up. I started to notice something. The more I practiced, the less my mood mattered. The act itself became its own reward. At first, nobody noticed. My friends didn't see any change. My family didn't either. But deep inside, I began to feel different. It was like planting a seed underground. No one could see it, but roots were slowly stretching, quietly, invisibly. Still, it wasn't easy. There were mornings I wanted to give up. Days I convinced myself that practice didn't matter. After all, one skipped day wouldn't ruin everything, right? But every time I thought that way, I remembered the emptiness I used to feel when I did nothing. That emptiness scared me more than the effort it took to keep going. Something strange started happening after a few weeks. I noticed my writing wasn't just improving, I was improving. My patience grew. My focus sharpened. Even in conversations, I found myself listening better, choosing words more carefully. It was as if the simple act of showing up every day was training not just my hand, but my mind. One evening, I sat by the window as the sun sank below the horizon. My notebook lay open, filled with pages of words. I flipped through them and thought about the person I had been just a month before, the boy who avoided effort, who lived in the shadow of tomorrow. I realized I was becoming someone new, not because of one big decision, but because of countless tiny choices that nobody saw but me. A daily practice became my quiet rebellion against my old self. It didn't shout. It didn't brag. It whispered. And yet, its voice grew louder with every passing day. There's something almost magical about this. We live in a world that celebrates the big moments, the trophies, the awards, the applause. But nobody claps when you sit alone in your room, repeating the same action over and over. Nobody cheers when you fight with yourself to keep a promise that only you will know about. Yet that is where real power is built, in silence, in secret, one day at a time. But then came the first real test. I woke up one morning, exhausted after a long night. I told myself I deserved a break. My notebook sat on the desk, waiting. For the first time since I started, I thought about skipping. My hand hovered over the cover, and for a moment, I felt the old version of myself calling me back, whispering that one day off wouldn't hurt. I opened the notebook anyway. My pen touched the page, and I wrote, "I am stronger than my excuses." That sentence became a turning point. It was no longer about writing. It was about identity. Every day I practiced, I wasn't just training a skill, I was training myself to be the kind of person who shows up, no matter what. And here's the part that surprised me most. That silent power started spilling into other areas of my life. I found myself eating better, waking up earlier, exercising, even speaking with more confidence. The secret wasn't motivation. Motivation fades. The secret was practice. Quiet, steady, invisible practice. It felt like building an invisible staircase. Every small action was another step. Nobody else could see where I was going, but I could feel myself climbing. Then something happened that almost broke me. I had been practicing daily for 3 months when I faced a setback. A personal failure, one that left me embarrassed and doubting everything. Suddenly, the voice of my old self grew louder again. Laughing at me, saying, "See? All that practice, and look, you still failed." That night, I sat in my room, staring at my notebook with tears in my eyes. My pen felt heavy in my hand. I wondered if it was all a waste. I wondered if the silent power of practice was just a story I was telling myself, but in that silence, another thought whispered back. What if this is the moment that defines you? Not the easy days, but the hard ones. Not the victories, but the struggles. I lifted the pen. My hand shook. My words came slowly. But I wrote anyway. That night, something inside me changed forever. That night, when I wrote through my tears, I didn't know it was the beginning of a new chapter. It felt like the weakest version of me, sitting alone, trying to hold on to a promise nobody else cared about. But sometimes the weakest moments build the strongest foundations. The next morning, I woke up with puffy eyes and a heavy heart. My failure from the day before replayed in my mind like a broken record. I felt humiliated, small, like all the effort I had poured into my daily practice was pointless. But when I glanced at my notebook lying on the desk, a strange sense of peace washed over me. I had shown up in the middle of my worst night. That meant something. It meant I could survive storms. I opened the notebook again. My words were shaky, but I wrote anyway. And that simple action reminded me of something important. Success isn't built in the sunshine. It's built when the rain pours, when the winds howl, and when every bone in your body tells you to give up but you don't. The more I practiced, the more I noticed a shift happening inside me. My days no longer felt empty. Even when the outside world seemed chaotic, I carried a quiet anchor within. That anchor was built from the small promises I kept each day. Weeks turned into months. What started as a simple commitment to write one line a day grew into pages filled with stories, reflections, even fragments of dreams I once thought were unreachable. My notebook became more than paper. It became a mirror, showing me a version of myself I hadn't believed existed, the version who didn't quit. It was around this time that someone finally noticed. A friend came over, saw the pile of notebooks stacked on my desk, and asked, "What's all this?" I hesitated. For months, it had been my secret world, a silent ritual no one knew about. But I opened one and handed it to him. He read a few lines, smiled, and said, "You've got something here. Why don't you share it?" Those words hit me like thunder. Share it? Me? I laughed it off at first. But later that night, I kept thinking about it. Could my private practice become something more? Could it reach beyond the walls of my room? The idea scared me. Sharing meant risking judgment. It meant exposing the quiet work I had protected like a fragile flame. But something inside whispered, maybe this is what daily practice has been preparing you for. So, trembling with fear, I chose a small piece and posted it online. I didn't expect much. Maybe a like, maybe nothing at all. But to my surprise, a few people commented. They said the words resonated with them, that they felt encouraged, that they wanted to hear more. I sat staring at the screen, my heart racing. For the first time, I saw how silent practice could create a ripple in the world. That moment was electric. It taught me that practice doesn't just shape who you are, it shapes what you can give. And the more you give, the more your practice matters. Still, the road wasn't smooth. Sharing meant criticism too. Some people dismissed my words, some ignored them completely. The old voice in my head tried to creep back, whispering that I wasn't good enough. But every time doubt rose, I leaned on the rhythm I had built. I told myself, just show up. Write today. Post today. Forget the rest. Slowly, little by little, my words began reaching more people. Messages trickled in from strangers saying, "This helped me," or "I needed to hear this today." I realized something profound. My small daily practice, which once felt invisible, was now touching lives I had never even met. It was never about sudden success. It was about steady growth. Like a tree rising from the soil, inch by inch, my practice gave me roots. And roots hold you steady when the winds of doubt blow hardest. I remember one night in particular. I was invited to speak at a small community gathering. Me, the kid who once couldn't even finish a single page, now standing in front of people to share my words. My hands shook as I stepped up to the microphone. I thought my voice would crack, but as I began reading from my notebook, something magical happened. The fear melted. The rhythm of my practice carried me. When I finished, the room was quiet for a moment, and then came the applause. Not thunderous. Not overwhelming, but real. I saw nods, I saw smiles, I saw people connecting with the words that had been born from countless silent nights. That applause wasn't just for the speech, it was for every day I chose to practice when nobody was watching. I walked home that night under a sky full of stars, and for the first time, I truly understood the power of daily practice. It doesn't just change your skills. It changes your identity. It builds confidence brick by brick until one day you find yourself standing taller without even realizing how much you've grown. But here's the truth I learned: the real gift of daily practice isn't recognition. It isn't applause or success. It's something quieter, deeper. It's knowing that no matter what happens in the world outside, you have the strength to keep a promise to yourself. That kind of strength can't be taken away. Looking back, I see a clear line between the person I was and the person I am now. On one side, a boy who dreamed but never acted, who waited for tomorrow. On the other side, someone who understands that tomorrow is built by what you do today, and today is shaped by the small, silent actions you repeat. Daily practice became my compass. It led me out of fear. It carried me through failure. It gave me confidence, discipline, and eventually, purpose, and the most beautiful part? It's a power that belongs to everyone. Not just me. Not just the talented or the lucky. Anyone. Because it doesn't require perfection. It only requires showing up. So when people ask me now, what's the secret? I smile. I don't talk about talent or luck. I don't talk about sudden breakthroughs. I simply say, the secret is daily practice. Silent, steady, unseen practice. That's the power that shaped me. That's the power that continues to shape me. And it's waiting for anyone willing to take the first small step.